Welcome to Pontification Nation. I'm your host, Ricky Skittle, coming to you live, as always, from my mother's basement. We're updating the Jussie Smollett story today. Is Jussie Smollett's story falling apart? I initially termed this as suspicious, then I termed it as curious and suspicious, and now I think it's time for the term fabricated and suspicious. This story appears to be a complete fabrication that it does not have anything true about it. It also appears that it's potentially bigger than what we originally thought, because now I'm starting to believe that he sent the letter to himself too. None of it makes any sense, as we all know, and it's about time for the Chicago police to start asking the right questions of Jussie Smollett about why he did this and what he's going to do to pay for it. So we'll start here at the PJ Media piece. We'll read a couple excerpts from here. Most of this is stuff we've been over, but Smollett has turned over heavily redacted phone records, but evidence has begun to emerge suggesting his story was fabricated. Rumors are swirling that police are even considering charging him with filing a false report. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt at the beginning, but the whole reason that I did this is because this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that in the most liberal part of the most liberal city, someone attacked him and said it was MAGA country. So the Rafer Weigel, who we talked about in the last episode of this segment, received phone records. He said the police received phone records today from Smollett's camp. They were limited and redacted, but detectives will analyze them. Basically, the detectives are saying these records are BS. They don't tell us anything that we need to know, and they would not pass muster in a court of law. So we're trying to prosecute someone with this information. It would not be admissible in court. Now, this is the interesting part. Late Monday evening, ABC7 Chicago reported that an empty hot sauce bottle that smelled like bleach was found near the location of the alleged attack. Smollett had told police that the attackers, who wore MAGA hats and screamed, "This is MAGA country," had poured an unknown bleach-smelling liquid on him and put a noose around his neck after they yelled racist and homophobic slurs at him at 2 a.m. Now, the New York Post was doing a recreation of his walk to the subway to try and figure out exactly what happened. And while they were doing that, this is now, 2 weeks after the attack? Maybe even we're going on 3, maybe? I don't remember exactly when it first happened. But it was the last week of January, and we're now in the second week of February. So let's call it 3 weeks. So the Post is doing a recreation of the night to see what they can find. And then they end up finding this hot sauce bottle that smelled like bleach. And they gave it to the police. And the police said, I don't know who has it, the FBI or the police. But the police had canvassed the area like 7 times prior to the Post being there a few weeks later. And so they never, ever saw this hot sauce bottle that smelled like bleach at all. Is it possible that he is putting the hot sauce bottle that smells like bleach out there after the case? It's unclear if that is related to the incident, as it was not discovered during any of the earlier canvasses, but we took it for analysis. The FBI is providing CPD with technical assistance on this case at our request. I'm not sure if the bottle went to their lab or one of ours. Now, as for the phone records, we are very appreciative of the victim's cooperation. However, the records provided do not meet the burden for a criminal investigation, as they were limited and heavily redacted. So detectives may be following up with him to request additional data to corroborate the investigative timeline. Basically, what he's saying is, we are having a really hard time believing him because he's not cooperating in the way that we would expect a victim to cooperate. He said he couldn't give his phone over because he couldn't be without his phone for a couple of hours. You can't be without your phone for a couple of hours to find these racist, bigot pieces of garbage that did this to you, Jussie? Really? Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that I would like to give my phone to the police. for any reason whatsoever. I wouldn't. That being said, if I had been attacked and there were evidence on my phone that the police needed, I would hand the phone over to the police and let them look at it, as most normal human beings in this country would. I don't believe it happened the way he said it did, Chicago resident Agan Muhammad told the New York Post. Muhammad reportedly lives in the same high-rise as Smollett. I've been in this neighborhood 5 years. I don't believe it. Not around here. Half the people are gay and the other half are black. Many Americans are waking up to the possibility that Jussie Smollett's story may be a hoax. Not us. Not here. Jeff Jizaya, an entrepreneur who has written for NATO and the Harvard Business Review, tweeted, "The weight of the evidence supports what we've suspected all along. This is a hate hoax. Jussie should be arrested for filing a false police report and sued. In this era of disinformation, these hoaxes and their media enablers must be held accountable." Conservative blogger Matt Walsh laid out the basic incongruity of Smollett's story. He claims he was attacked by white Trump-loving racists in one of the most liberal parts of one of the most liberal cities in America. No similar attacks have been reported by anyone in town. He's on camera walking down the street. There is only a 60-second gap where he is not on camera. He claims the attack just so happened to occur during that gap. But cameras don't pick up anyone fitting the description of the suspects. If they exist, they must have vanished into thin air. Also, Smollett claims he was on the phone during the attack but didn't want to turn his phone over to the police. Finally, he did turn his phone records over, but redacted them so heavily as to make them useless. Oh, and his own neighbors think his story is totally bogus. If this guy wasn't a celebrity, police would have already charged him with filing a false report. The story was clearly bogus from the get-go and only became more bogus with each new revelation. So I wanted to give Jussie the benefit of the doubt in the beginning here because, we are for the Constitution and we believe that everyone deserves the right to be heard and listened to and their facts examined and the truth established before placing any type of judgment on someone. But as I stated in the beginning, this does not look like these facts are going to mesh out well with the way that this is going. So here's what I think. I think that Jussie sent himself the letter a couple weeks before he showed up in Chicago. And then when he got to Chicago, used the video that he had already written, directed, and produced from the song FUW with the man and the noose. If you haven't seen that, go back and check my first video on this. And reproduced that in real time in Chicago. There's a potential that he went and looked at the cameras to find out where he was, so he went back into this alley where cameras couldn't see him. I don't know. That's speculation. A lot of this is speculation on my part. But it just seems like it is too easy for all of this to happen. So you're telling me that a Trump supporter who lives in Chicago, where there virtually are no Trump supporters, sent a letter to the Empire Studios, to Jussie Smollett, 2 weeks before they knew that he was going to be showing up to film, and then they knew his travel itinerary and happened to be out on the coldest night in Chicago in 100 years, and Chicago's a cold place, and found him at a Subway, and then assaulted him and poured bleach out of a hot sauce bottle onto him, and then the police didn't find the hot sauce bottle for 2 weeks. And then the New York Post found the hot sauce bottle with bleach 2 weeks later in a place where they probably have people who clean the streets on a regular basis to pick up this kind of trash. This isn't San Francisco, it's Chicago. There are people who take care of the city and clean up the trash. So, until I see anything different, That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. This guy has a clear animus for Trump. The liberal media who ran with this story also need to be held to account. And I think we as Trump supporters should file a class action lawsuit against all of these hate hoaxes that are saying that we're racist. Because I'm tired of it. I'm not racist. I don't hate. You, Jussie, are the hater. You, Jussie, are the racist for judging people by the color of their skin and nothing else. That's what's going on in this country. It doesn't matter who the racism is committed against. It is racism to judge someone solely by the color of their skin or some other immutable characteristic. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. We got some great comments on the last Jussie video. I'm looking forward to the comments on this one. For Pontification Nation, I'm Ricky Skittle, and I'm out.